Okay.
Okay, welcome back to Drew and Me. I'm with Steve Kain, and we're talking about Steve's five favorite songs. And one of his favorite songs is "Sound of Silence" by Simon and Garfunkel. Also, "Wish You Were Here" by Pink Floyd.
And then after that I'll go with A Day in the Life by the Beatles. Um
It's an excellent choice.
and that's probably interchangeable with another 10 Beatles songs, just depending on my mood and what day. But that seems like a good one to go with, you know?
Yeah, I feel like it's a visceral song. It's a trippy song. Like I feel like it's a very different song.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes I even forget it's on Sergeant Pepper, which is such a good album. But yeah,
Mm. Yeah, last track. And I just love like it really shows like John Paul's personalities. Like you just have that whole John just like being John. He shoot his head out in the car, you know. He didn't know that the had changed, just like that kind of deep, morbid kind of thing. And then Paul just pops in halfway through, just like, "Hey, I woke up. Get out of the bed. I comb my head." Like, you know, just like this, they're just the best like kind of like mixture of those two guys, you know. And like that part Paul has in the song really is kind of cool how it just jumps to that kind of like, you know, show tuney type of like happy go lucky kind of part of the song. And then like at the end of the verse, he like smokes a cigarette and goes back into the dream and back into like that John Lennon type of spirit. And then the whole like avant-garde orchestra, you know, just going crazy. I mean, like it's just like, yeah, it's just very innovative for that time, you know. I've been listening to a lot of Beatles lately. I'd say like every 2 or 3 years I go through the like Beatles phase. You know.
that's cool. Yeah, I feel like Day in the Life's an excellent choice. I've heard people say it's like the perfect song.
Well, what should you pick as your like favorite Beatles song?
I've been getting into more of I like Julia a lot.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Julia's a good one. Obviously, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is excellent song. Um, um, Nowhere Man, probably like one of my all-time favorites is definitely Drive My Car. It's an
Yeah,
excellent
that's
song.
great. That's great. Yeah. Ray Poppy song. And yeah, you named a lot of like John songs and it seems like as more time has passed, newer generations are like connecting more to like John Lennon songs. John Lennon really has aged probably better than like Paul McCartney's songs. I mean, I think they're both geniuses. I just think that people seem to connect more to John Lennon nowadays than Paul's stuff, you know. I don't hear anybody praising Obla Di Obla Da so much, you know, but people are still they still love the John stuff for sure. And I mean they're just like yeah, greatest band ever. And I've always liked Paul's my favorite Beatle because I would rather be Paul than John, you know. John was
Okay.
kind of a hot mess, slapping women, getting drunk, getting killed when he's 30 years old. And Paul's just like chill, writing happy songs, being happy, living to be 90 years old. I want Paul McCartney's life, you know, not I admire Paul McCartney, not John Lennon. Um
Um, yeah, I feel like Paul is great. Like probably of of the Beatles, probably my favorite Beatles like solo work is probably George. Like I feel like a
hmm,
George Harrison song is always like really solid.
yeah. I think a lot of people feel that way too, that he had the best solo career. John's was really disappointing. I think a lot of people feel that way. I was kind of disappointed in a lot of John's solo work, and he was very lazy in the studio. Um, And even though Paul's songwriting wasn't as good, like he did spend a lot of time in the studio and the production on some of those Paul McCartney albums. And I'm a big like audiophile. I'm really like into like, the engineering of an album more so than like the songs actually. And some of those albums like McCartney 1 and Band on the Run, the production is like pristine. If you listen to them on a good, record player with great speakers, like they sound amazing. And John Lennon's albums sound like complete garbage.
Steve, can you hear me? All right, we'll try this one more time.
Oh, it's
Okay.
all if you can get some like commercial ad space, we'd have all these good like commercial plugs to put in all this technical difficulty. That could be cool, make some money. I don't know if you heard the last thing I said. I'm just rambling. So,
No,
but
no, no.
George had some great stuff. Uh what's left?
Um,
Uh
think like two more songs, right?
yeah. So I'm gonna say Ripple by the Grateful Dead, if you know that song.
Oh, um, I'm not too well versed in Grateful Dead. I think I've listened to one album by them, maybe the one that Touch of Grey is on. I
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
think I've listened to that one.
I'm a huge Deadhead. I've seen the living members of the band somewhere like 35, 40 times. I've gone to follow them around different states. I've done the whole Deadhead thing basically. I met my wife in the parking lot of a Grateful Dead concert. So I've done that whole hippie trip. And Ripple is like their big ballad that like if you went to like a Deadhead's funeral, the kind of guy who gets buried in like a tie-dye t-shirt, Ripple would be the song that they would play, during the funeral. It's a very common kind of thing. Like hippies get buried when they die, they play either Ripple or they play Rolling Stones Wild Horses. One of those are the two songs that you'll hear at a hippie's funeral basically, you know.
Wow.
That should be on my top five too. Wild Horses. That's another one.
Love Wild Horses. I love Wild Horses so much. It's a great song.
Yeah. I'd definitely
Um,
say check out Ripple sometime. Give that a play. It's a beautiful song.
yeah, check that out. I've been meaning to listen to another Grateful Dead album.
Listen to that album is American Beauty, and that's kind of like that's like their greatest hits album. It has all the songs that like you would hear on the radio, basically. And they're all 5 minutes long. They're not, 2 hours or anything like that. It's not jammy or anything like that. Um, and then like yeah, the last song on the list would be Take It Easy by the Eagles. And one of the reasons for that is my dad passed away back in 2019, but that was like his favorite song of all time. Um, so it's become one of my favorite songs of all time too. It's just very just lighthearted song, just an optimistic song about just like keeping a positive attitude in life, and very simple song. But I don't think you always have to be deep. I think just like there's something more intelligent than just like having an optimistic attitude. And it's just a really fun little beautiful song.
Yeah, honestly, like songs by the Eagles are pretty hit and miss for me. I think Take It Easy is definitely one of like the stronger ones. Yeah, I like Take It Easy and ooh, I'm confusing my bands. I was gonna say Private Eyes, but I feel like that's a whole note song, I think.
Oh, you're thinking of Lying Eyes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one too. I like Limehouse.
Yeah, I'm not gonna try and sing it because I can't sing. But Hotel California, that's their biggest hit. Witchy Woman's a great song. I kind of grew up with like being in the passenger seat of my dad's Ford truck with the greatest hits Eagles, like, just playing every day and stuff like that. I don't know their deep cuts or anything like that. I'm not an Eagles fan, but yeah, it's a great song. And yep, all old songs from the 70s, every single one, you know. My parents' generation was just had better music.
I had a cousin at her wedding. Wish She Were Here was played at her wedding, and I feel like that's really cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I like those kind of like I miss you type of songs, like Leonard Skinner, Tuesday's Gone with the Wind,
Oh
like
yeah,
yeah,
Tuesday's Gone's great. I love that song.
yeah. It seems like there's a kind of a theme. My favorite songs ever, those like I miss you, wish you were here type of songs. Yeah,
Um, like, do you like that Chicago song? Like the like, Are You Here? Can you hear me now? Or something like the one that's like ooh, like
I don't know if I know that song, but I will say that if we had to do a top 10 favorite song list, Smile by Chicago would be on that list if you know that song. And that's another one I grew up with, like my dad playing on the old record player as a kid. I love the song Smile. Um, but I don't know which one you're talking about. I don't know Chicago very well.
okay. Probably Saturday in the Park is probably my favorite Chicago.
Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. It's a great one. I gotta dive into their catalog. I really need to. And I do listen to a lot of music. I'd say I sit down and I listen to an album or two every single night. And I mean like actively listen, not like playing on my phone or like driving. Like I mean like I sit on my couch, I listen to the stereo with no distractions like every night. So I am a big music fan like that. Nobody does that anymore. Nobody just sits down and just listens to music, listens to an album from start to finish. Yeah.
No, no, have you met Brandon Gorn?
I don't think so.
He has an extensive record collection and he lives like somewhere in Baltimore. But he has like records galore and like sometimes he'll just listen to record albums.
Nice. Yeah, I used to have a really nice record collection and I just like sold it because I was broke and because it's too hard to move and take all those records with you. But I was collecting records back in high school before it was like the cool like hipster thing to do. Like I could go like in 2005 I could go to my Salvation Army and I could find a copy of like Led Zeppelin 2 for like $1, right? Or $5 or something like that. And when it became really popular again, everyone's already gone through the Salvation Armies and the Goodwills, and they've bought everything good. And now you have to go to like a record store, and Pink Floyd The Wall will be like, $100 or something like that. Now it's all overpriced like that. But I started my collection luckily before it was like crazy like that. Um, yeah. So now I just listen to music on Spotify. It's
Same, same.
yeah,
I listen to Spotify heavily.
yeah.
Um,
Terrible quality, you know.
but they have every song, or they don't have every
Exactly.
song, but they have a lot of music.
I mean, between Spotify and YouTube, like, you're paying like $12 a month to have every album ever. I mean, that's insane. It's crazy. I mean, we live in a really, really awesome time. I mean, to be a fan, not to be a musician, it's terrible if you're in a band making no money, but like for us, it's great. Yeah.
I completely agree. I feel like it's a great time for like reminiscing about like things we like and like content. Like a lot of content I see on YouTube is excellent. And I feel like YouTubers
Yeah.
have like upped their game. Like a lot of like YouTube videos are like I feel like I'm watching TV. Like I feel like the quality's so high now.
Yeah, I got into that mostly from my wife about a year ago, where like now I hardly ever watch we don't have cable and I hardly ever watch Netflix or like HBO. Like we just watch like just YouTube content creators and it's just like it's great. It's like you're not giving any money to the corporation, well, besides YouTube itself, but you're not like watching these corporate made TV shows. You're just watching independent people, do stuff. It's cool, you know. Um my biggest problem with Spotify, I think, is just the fact that like I listen to too much different music. I'm listening to a different band every single night when you're in high school and you buy that CD for 20 bucks, like you're stuck you listen to that CD 50 times, whether you even like it or not, like you paid money for it and like you really know that album. And now I just go through so many albums that like I don't retain the memory for like when I'm listening to as much. And that's the same for like movies with streaming and everything else. You just like once you watch that content, it's kind of X'd out in your mind, you just move on to something else instead of just watching that film 15 times and studying it and really knowing it and memorizing it, And I don't know which is better, like learning a couple films or a couple albums or like having the experience of like getting to like see it all and watch it all and take it all in. It's like a yin and a yang type thing.
Yeah, like that really is kind of what I really like about Spotify is it gives you access to every song if you
Yeah.
want. Because when we were in like the iTunes days, the iPod days, like you had to like pay for the whole album and like pay for certain and they didn't have all the albums or stuff like that. And like I know like the Beatles, it took forever for their music to get licensed on iTunes.
Yeah. And Spotify too. They held out for a long time for sure. Mm. But yeah, I
Nice.
just yeah. I don't know if
Oh,
like we suffer from having everything for free if we value it less because it's free. I don't know.
yeah, I'm really appreciative of getting like all of this content, and I feel like there's always more music out there. There's always more YouTube videos. I feel like there's always like more things I can expose myself to. And like music never lets me down. Like there's always a new band I can get into.
Yeah. Yeah, music's the most healing art form. You can just have a shitty day and just play one song and it changes your whole perspective for the whole day. I don't think anything else can really do that. So it's pretty special. Um, but
Yeah. I feel like I want to listen to a Grateful Dead album and a New Order album and possibly Joy Division.
okay, okay. I mean, I don't know much of newer. I know Joy Division because I was in a band in college that never got out of the basement really, but I played with some guys, and the one dude was a huge Joy Division fan, and we must have covered like these Joy Division songs and played them like 100 times in this basement. I was so damn sick of them. That's my experience with Joy Division. Um, but yeah, I mean they are great, for sure. And yeah, they only have a couple albums, right? Joy Division, they had like a couple albums, and the guy
Yeah.
committed suicide, right?
Yeah, I don't think they have that much. I feel like I feel like New
New
Order
Division.
and New Order and Joy Division are basically the same band, right? Or there's very
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah, the singer from Joy Division passed away, and the other band members started a new band without him. I think it was just like the guitar player or something sang after that. But I bet there is a cover band called New Division that does both their songs. I'm sure. I like that.
Well, there is a very good techno band called New Division.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm sure they had that in mind for the title. Yeah, I should look up. I should listen to some Joy Division too sometime. Give them another listen at some point. Um, yeah, you check out Grateful Dead. I'll check out Joy Division for sure.
Absolutely. I'll have American Beauty all queued up. So I'll listen to American Beauty and then New Order New Order will be next on my list after that.
Let me know what you think of American Beauty, for sure. Um, and I think like the other question you had was
Oh,
what's
a sports team.
yeah, what's my favorite of local Philadelphia sports team, like based off a year, like whatever it's 2002 Eagles team or 1970s Phillies team. I don't watch any sports at all, and I've never followed any sports at all whatsoever. I will root for the home team just because if the Eagles lose, then everybody around me has a bad day the next day, which affects me, So I want those teams to do well and win so everybody else is happy, but I don't really care. Um, but I guess my favorite team would be whichever Eagles team finally won the Super Bowl that year because everybody was really happy and that was a really good Super Bowl. I remember like watching it and like it was really, really exciting. Like it was like a movie or something like that the way it played out. Um, so yeah, what was that? 2016?
16, 20, it was either 2017, it was like the 2016 season and then the 2017 Super Bowl.
Yeah. I used to
Um, yeah, I agree. Like, I feel like the fans like loved it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. People went crazy, but I used to have my friends used to make a bet where they would call me and be like, "Hey, Steve, the Super Bowl's tomorrow. Who's in it?" And like every year, and I would just and sometimes I would know, and sometimes I'd have no idea. It just depended if I just like overheard people talk about it or not. Basically, I try and like know enough about sports to like keep a 5 minute conversation going with somebody because it's such a thing as a guy. It's such a piece of small talk people have that like you have to at least know a little bit just to have a little bit of small talk. So if I'm like at work and I have an acquaintance or an associate that's like really into like the Cowboys or something like that, I'll just pretend to hate the Cowboys so we have that friendly competitive back and forth with each other, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, you guys were a bunch of bums last night in that game." But I really don't care at all. It's just all pretend.
Yeah, I feel like it used to be worse. Like, I feel like in the 90s, Philadelphia fans used to treat the opposing fans terribly.
Yeah. Well, I feel like locally, like when there's like a Cowboys fan in New Jersey, it's just like you're just doing it just to piss people off. Like you really care about this team in Dallas, like across the country, or you just hate where you live that much that you're just gonna like you just want people to hate you, you know? And I guess I get that too. That's cool. I don't know.
Yeah, like there's one time I was in a sports bar and there was an Eagles game on, and then there was like a Giants fan, and the Giants fan like kept talking and they kept talking with the Giants, and like an Eagles fan went over to them and said, "Okay, you need to be quiet right now." So okay.
I feel like the worst a team's history is, the angrier the fans are. Like I would not talk trash to like a Buffalo's Bills fan. They've never won a Super Bowl. They would probably
Terrible
kill
luck,
you,
yeah, like
like
absolutely terrible luck. Like I'd say the Bills are the Browns
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I will see a Yankees fan like not, hitting you with a baseball bat because you talk trash to their team. They don't care. Their team's won 1,000 times. But like,
Yeah, they
yeah,
won 27 World Series or something crazy like that.
yeah. They don't care about trash talk. But when you talk about those teams that never won a Super Bowl or a World Series, those fans, it hurts them deep down inside. And yeah, don't fuck with them. If you do, that's on you, you know. Anybody who gets killed at a Buffalo Bills game, that's their fault. I don't feel bad for them at all, you know. Out of your goddamn mind showing up to us like a Sixers game and a Chicago Bulls t-shirt or something like that. It's crazy. Don't do that. I don't know. But yeah, I watched like the Super Bowl's the only game I watch all year. That's it. And I'll go to a base. I like when local teams do bad because I do like going to like a Phillies game once this summer with friends just for like the hell of it. And if the Phillies are doing bad, then the tickets are like $5. But if they're doing good, the tickets are like $100. So I'd rather the local teams do bad so I can afford to go to the shows. That makes sense, you know.
Yeah, like you can go at a discounted price.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as your local team is doing bad, the tickets are cheap, you know. So I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the Sixers, like pre-Doc Rivers, they're
Oh,
like losing a lot of games, and like a lot of people can go to Sixers games. But now the Sixers like always win, so people go to
yeah.
Sixers games now.
Yeah, I went to a couple back in that time period for like yeah, like $20. I won't go again for a long time until they suck again. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. Okay, I think we'll wrap up. So we talked about favorite plays. Steve's favorite play of all time was the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And was it Book of Mormons?
The Book of Mormon and the Evil Dead the musical. Yeah.
Evil Dead the musical. And then for music, Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. Um, uh, there was a Beatles one. I can't.
Day in the Life,
Dana White.
uh Sound of Music by Simon and Garfunkel,
Yep.
Ripple by
Sound
Grateful
of Silence.
Dead, and
Ripple.
yeah, something else. Take It Easy by the Eagles. Yeah. There we go. I remembered my
Nice.
songs. Good for me. And if you people have a problem with my picks, you come to the YouTube comment section and you talk shit on me. We'll meet up somewhere and fight, you know.
The comment section has actually been disabled. So,
Hey God. Oh man. Did something
um,
happen in the comment section that made that happen? Like, what went
no,
down?
it just it's automatically turned off. Like, I kind of want to turn it back on because I'm curious what people think, but I
Hmm.
wonder if the algorithm just was like, we don't want to put comments on this. So I was like, all right.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you should be able to turn it back on. I don't think it would create a problem. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
but thanks for having me on.
Uh, Thanks for being on, Steve. And you can catch Steve at Philly's Funniest tomorrow. And um, I know humor in August or
July
tomorrow night.
25th. July 25th. It's
Or
called
is it
a
August?
curveball show. What they do is you have to pick a thing out of a hat or a bucket before you go up and do your time, and they throw you a curveball. So maybe they make you eat like a hot pepper before you go on stage, or kick you in the nuts before you go on stage. Something unpredictable. I don't know what it will be, but I'm excited to do the show. I like gimmicks like that, you know.
It's cool. Like I feel like the performance will be different.
Yeah, it'll have to be. Yeah, there's a lot of popular shows like that. I've done shows where like they make you eat an edible before you go on stage. Like there's all
Wow.
these shows where like the booker wants you to bomb, basically. And they throw all this. So this show is gonna be like a curveball show, it's called, you know. So whatever, you know. But yeah, I hope I catch you sometime at a mic or a show sometime.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
Try to make
That'd
it
be
out to
great.
Phoenix sometime.
Yeah. Yep. There's the boardroom mic that's every Wednesday. I would say ask Dan Sherman when they're doing a show because sometimes they'll do a comedy show before the open
Okay. Okay. Hey Dan. Hey Dan,
mic.
can I get on your show? Please, Dan. Please. Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. Um, cool. So this has been Drew and me and Steve Kain. Steve, thank you very much for being on.
Thank you. See you later.
Have a good night, guys.